There is a dangerous lie that has paralyzed most modern men. It is the lie that says harmlessness is a virtue. We have been taught that the ideal man is a man that has no capability of violence, a man who is agreeable, a man who never causes conflict. We call him the nice guy. We call him civilized. But I'm here to tell you that that man is not virtuous. He is not moral, and he certainly is not safe. A rabbit is not virtuous because it doesn't eat the wolf. A rabbit doesn't eat the wolf because it can't. That is not morality. That is incompetence. True virtue is not the absence of the capacity of violence. True virtue is the possession of that capacity and the absolute disciplined refusal to use it until necessary. Today we are going to dismantle the myth of the harmless male. We are going to explore the psychology of the nice guy and why his suppressed rage inevitably leads to destruction. And we are going to look at the ancient concept of Praus, the sword in the sheath, to understand why the only good man is a dangerous man who has himself under control. To understand why so many men feel weak, lethargic, or resentful, we have to look at the shadow. Carl Jung described the shadow as everything in us that we deem unacceptable. For the modern male, the first thing that we throw into the shadow is aggression. From the time that you were a boy, you were probably told that aggression is bad, that your urge to conquer, compete, defend, and to dominate was toxic. So you didn't learn to control it, you learned to repress it. There is a critical difference between suppression and repression. Suppression is when you feel the urge to strike, but you choose not to. That is discipline. That is the rider controlling the horse. Repression is when you bury the urge so deep that you pretend that it does not exist. You convince yourself that I am not an aggressive person, I am a nice person. But Jung warned us, wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a part of one's being. When you cut off your aggression, you don't kill it, you just lock it in the basement. And down in the dark, it doesn't die. It regresses, becomes archaic, it becomes hostile. That's why being the nice guy is so dangerous. Because he believes that he is harmless, so he never checks his own capacity for evil. He smiles when he resents you. He agrees to things that he hates and then sabotages them later. His aggression leaks out as sarcasm, as passive aggressiveness, as accidental incompetence. And because he has cut off his aggression, he has also cut off his libido, his life force. Aggression is the energy required to overcome inertia. It is the drive to master the world. When you kill the warrior, you kill the king. You become flat, tired, hollow. Psychologists call this pathological agreeableness. In the Big Five personality model, agreeableness is the trait of compassion and politeness. But when it is motivated by fear of conflict, fear of rejection, it becomes pathology. Robert Bly in The Iron John calls this the soft male. He had observed that men had become nicer since the 1960s, but they had also become less vital. They were life-draining, not life-giving. The pathologically agreeable man operates on a covert contract. He thinks, if I hide my needs, if I never cause trouble, if I am always nice, then you will love me. But the world does not respect weakness. And when the world inevitably tramples him because he has no boundaries, he doesn't get angry. He gets resentful. He becomes the victim. He tells himself, I do everything for everyone, and this is how they treat me. He never realizes that his inability to say no is the architect of his own suffering. A no that cannot be backed up by the capacity of conflict is not a boundary. It is merely a suggestion. And nobody follows suggestions from a man that's afraid of his own shadow. So what is the alternative? If the nice guy is a failure and the tyrant is a monster, what is the virtuous man? Well, Dr. Jordan Peterson puts it bluntly. You should be a monster. Or rather, you should be capable of being a monster and then have that capacity under complete control. This is the ancient concept of Praus. In the Bible, it is translated as meek. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. But when we hear meek, we think weak, right? We think doormat. But that is a translation error. In ancient Greek military texts, Praus was used to describe a warhorse. A warhorse is 2,000 pounds of muscle and lethal force. But a horse that is Praus is gentled. It is not weak. It has not been castrated. It has been trained to accept the bit. It charges into the chaos of battle at a whisper, and it halts at a command. Praus means power under restraint. It means strength under control. A virtuous man is the sword in the sheath. The sword is razor sharp. The capacity for violence is there. The threat is implicit. But the peace is maintained by discipline, not by impotence. You are not safe because you can't hurt anyone. You are safe because you could destroy the room, but you choose not to. That choice is what gives your peace value. History gives us a grim autopsy of what happens when leaders lack this integration. Look at Neville Chamberlain. He was a nice man, a civilized man. He hated war. When he met Hitler, he projected his own civility onto a monster. He thought, surely he is a rational man like me. We can negotiate. He couldn't see the evil in Hitler because he had repressed the capacity for evil within himself. He appeased. He avoided conflict. He sought peace for our time. And his harmlessness guaranteed the most destructive war in human history. He failed because he feared the monster more than he respected the necessity of the sword. Let's look at Pontius Pilate. He held the sword of Rome. He had absolute authority. He knew that Jesus was innocent. He knew that the mob was driven by envy, but he was pathologically agreeable. He feared the crowd. He wanted to keep the peace. So he washed his hands. He tried to be harmless while authorizing an execution. This is the nice guy leader. He participates in the evil because he is too weak to stop it and then claims moral exemption because he was pressured. Now, contrast this with the integrated man, the man who has the sword but keeps it sheathed. Look at Saladin in 1187. When the Christians took Jerusalem in 1099, they massacred everybody. The streets ran with blood. And when Saladin recaptured the city, his men, they screamed for revenge. And he had every justification to slaughter the inhabitants. He was a killer. He had spent decades in war, but he chose to negotiate. He allowed the Christians to ransom themselves. He spared the city. This wasn't weakness. This was supreme strength. He understood that mercy is a form of power. He integrated the aggression required to take the walls with the discipline required to spare the people. Look at George Washington at Newburgh. His army was unpaid, angry, and ready to revolt. They wanted him to lead a coup. He had the power and he had the swords, and he could have ridden that rage to a throne. Instead, he stood before them. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He pulled out a pair of reading glasses and said this, "Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have not only grown gray, but nearly blind in the service of my country." He laid down the sword. He proved that the greatest power is not the power to conquer, but the power to refuse the crown. That is the definition of Praus. So where does that leave you? If you are feeling lethargic, resentful, or powerless, it is likely due to the fact that you have exiled your warrior. You need to reclaim your shadow. And I don't mean that you need to become a jerk. I mean that you need to stop lying to yourself about your own nature. First, you need to acknowledge the monster. Admit that you have the capacity for malevolence. Admit that you have a dark side. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Second, you need to reclaim your no. Practice setting boundaries. Small ones. Stop agreeing with things that you hate. Stop smiling when you are angry. Let people feel the edge of your sword. Not to cut them, just to show them that it's there. A no backed with the capacity for conflict, it's a wall. A no without it, it's just a whisper. Third, you need to get physical. You cannot integrate aggression intellectually. You must feel it in your body. Lift heavy iron. Learn how to fight. There is a profound calm that comes with knowing that you are dangerous. It quiets the anxiety. It stops the need to posturing. As the saying goes, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. The world does not need more harmless men. It has enough rabbits hiding in their holes. It has enough nice guys building up resentment until they explode. The world needs dangerous men. Men who are capable of terrible things, but who have disciplined their minds and their bodies to be agents of order. We need the sword, but more importantly, we need the sheath.